So good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to be here. For those that are in person, as well as those listening online, we really appreciate the support. But I especially want to thank those members and contributors of the New Brunswick Medical Education Foundation for not only putting on this event, but who fund and distribute these scholarships that we're all so thankful for. Your support means more than my words tonight will be able to say. But that's what I'm hoping to talk to you all about tonight: support. Encouragement and the belief that success is possible is why we're all standing here today. Growing up, we all had dreams of who we wanted to be and what we wanted to become, and I, like many others in this room, dreamt of being in healthcare. But the first time that I can really remember reflecting and deciding that I wanted to be a physician was actually after a frightful event at home. So my youngest sister, who's 10 years my junior, was just born and brought home from hospital. She was 3 days old and doing really well, and my mother put her in her bassinet to sleep. And when she checked on her a few minutes later, she wasn't breathing. She wasn't pink, she wasn't blue, but she was black. My parents called an ambulance, which didn't end up coming. As you've heard, I'm from Mundellville, which is a very remote community here in New Brunswick. So my father put my mother and sister in the car, and he proceeded to drive the hour commute to the Moncton City Hospital. And the whole while, my mother was giving CPR to my sister. And they arrived in the ER, and they were able to resuscitate her. And I'm very happy to say that this year she's graduating from the University of Fredericton with her Bachelor of Arts. This would be a very different story if it wasn't for my mother. She was a medical professional, she's a registered nurse, and her knowledge and skills and abilities is why Rice is alive today. So, thank you. The applause is really for her. I was in awe of my mother then, and I still am today, and she was my original role model. She was the first person that believed in me when I said I wanted to become a doctor. And growing up in the impossibly small town that I did means that some people have certain ideas and opinions of what people are capable of. We're not exposed to a lot of different employment opportunities growing up in small towns, and medicine isn't one that you see often. So when I told people that I wanted to be a doctor, it did fall flat. And not that I blame them, because it is a big ambition. Not very many make this cut, and we should all be very proud of ourselves for sitting here today. But over time, that doubt creeps into you as well, and it creeped into me, and I was beginning to wonder if it was possible. If a girl from middle of nowhere, New Brunswick, could really achieve that dream of becoming a doctor. And that's when I was met with a new kind of support. Her name is Christina, and many of you know her as Dr. Christina Cameron, who's a family doctor here in St. John. She grew up in my hometown of Mundellville, just down the road from me, and she was a member of the first class of Dalhousie Medicine New Brunswick here in St. John. And at my high school graduation, she awarded me my very first scholarship. So seeing a girl from the middle of nowhere, New Brunswick, grow up to become everything that I hoped to be was empowering. And she really made me believe that this was possible. So she gave me that new kind of support and a new role model to look up to. So years later, when I received my acceptance letter for DMNB, I was floored. I felt the excitement and the nervousness and the anxiety, and imposter syndrome is very alive and very real, and it was very present in me. And I was lucky to have the support of my husband telling me that it was something I was capable of, and it was something that I needed to do, despite spending years in school previously. But he also supported and was supposed to love me no matter what, and no matter how deluded I was. So, I took that with a grain of salt. But those feelings of apprehension, they grew larger and larger as that first day of med school grew closer. My anxiety grew, and it felt like this physical being sitting on my chest. But there was one thing that really curbed my trepidation, and it was a phone call from the New Brunswick Medical Education Foundation, and they were awarding me a scholarship, the Greater St. John Community Foundation Medical Education Scholarship. And I had to sit down, because not only were they helping me financially, which is beyond required, they were recruiting me, and they wanted me to be here when I was done. They were hoping that I would stay in New Brunswick, where I was hoping to raise my family regardless. But I felt this new kind of support, a support through building a community of future physicians who are passionate about healthcare in New Brunswick, to be surrounded by other people who are from these rural and remote areas in New Brunswick, who had deep roots in their communities and wanted to make things better. A support system through this amazing organization and the incredible people who donate to help support us through these difficult financial and emotional times. So I think I speak for everybody here when I say from the bottom of my heart, we thank you. To thank you to everybody who supported anybody here, whether that be in the past, currently, or hereafter, whether that be through these very important donations, through mentorship, or just kind words, because none of us would be here without it. Thank you.